Hi, this is Baruch, the Tikkun Elevator Kolel, again, coming with the fifth installment on Sipurei Maasiot from Rav Schick. That is, it's Rabbeinu HaKodesh, Rabbi Nachman's story with the Pirush by Rav Schick. It's a very exciting day, and today we're actually going to start. We're going to start the story, his Pirush on the story. Now, you know that the story has a secret inside of it. All of these stories have secrets, and what Rav Schick does is he elaborates on the secrets that are inside of this story. Now, one of the things about the beginning of this, as he starts out, and we're going to do a certain amount as much as we can today, the day is Erev Shabbos, is he brings a lot of Kabbalah here. So I'll explain it as best I can. But as Rabbi Memran has told me before, and is this, you have to get started someplace with the Kabbalah. Some people know a little bit from here, and a lot of times it really doesn't help because the different kinds of situations that we're learning it in doesn't necessarily jive with what the Mekubalim are doing. It gets watered down. So here we're going to see this. I'm going to listen to what he says. We'll try to make the most out of it. And if we don't understand, of course, you could always comment and post a comment on the apps group, and we could try to really think about what it is. But here we're going to get started. I would say, what is the secret that's going on in this story? Now, remember, this story is The Lost Princess. This is the fifth installment, but it's actually the first day, as I said, that we're going to hear the Pirush, and here it starts. Ma'aseh b'melech echad is a story about one king. Shehoyu lo shisha banim ubas achas. So I had said before, when we originally read this, the 6 plus 1 is usually what we call Zer Anpin and Malchus. Hamelech, so he says, who is this Melech? The Melech is Melech Malchei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's the ultimate king, the source of all things. Here he calls it HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Vashisha Banim. Then he had 6 sons. Hema Sheish Sfiros. So these sons, without going into all the detail of, we know there's 10 Sfiros, and here we're going to talk about 6 of them, and then one more, which is 7. What happened to the other 3? It's another piece of Torah. So these are the 7 lower spheros. And these spheros are Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Nekroim, Zer Anpin. And so there's a name that the Rav has given to us that we see in Kabbalah is called Zer Anpin, the small face. So he says, because they are the midos by which the life of Hashem is constricted and minimized so that we can digest it. And he came so Shisha Sidrei Mishnah. Now he says there's a little tool that you could use, and people should be learning Mishnah, because Mishnah is the letter of Vav, as he's about to say, is the number 6. And so that these sons are also the secret of the Mishnah, but there also corresponds to the 6 regular days of the week. Kasher Apostle, he says some examples of what you see, because before, remember, he had talked about the number of 224, which is the word derech, and he split it and he made it into the word one. He made it the number 112. We had some comments on that. Well, over here we're seeing that you could divide this 6 into 2 sides. One side is Elokim, which is din. The other side could be chesed, which is light, let's say, and all the kindness that there is in the world. So now he says there's kasher apostle, things that are good, things that are not good. Tomei b'tahor, things that are unusable, things that are pure. Aser mutter. So like that, we have different opposites. We have things that are forbidden and things that are permitted. So that's a little bit going along with the idea of what he said before, Elokim and Avaya, which is one is Elokim is din, and Avaya is chesed. So he says, Kamuva, he says this is a Zohar. He wants to quote this Zohar and Zohar Bereshis, Daf Mem Beis. A person who teaches and learns the 6 orders of the Mishnah, dohu man the yad of the sadra, the kasha, kashura, the yechida, the marik, the koyeyus. This is a person who knows how to properly bind himself to his master. Elon, the Mekadrim, Shema Kadisha, these are the people that actually make a special holiness of the holy name, the Marehon, B'kol Yoma Tadir. So that's the Gemara over. That's the Zohar over there. This is happening. This is a person that learns Mishnah every day. Shazeh Sod Metat. Now Metat, we had this from the lesson last week on Parshas Mishpatim in the Zohar. Tat is the name of a Malach. He is the main Malach, which is in charge of bringing the Shef of Hashem here to this world, and bringing our prayers and the things that we need up to Hashem, who's beyond us, beyond this world. Nikra Eved. Now this Metat has 6 names. There's actually 6 names. I'm not saying all the words because when we speak about Malachim, we don't necessarily pronounce their names. We don't empower them in this world in that way. So he says he's also called a slave or a servant. Let's call him a servant. And now he says in a part of the Zohar which is called the Raya Mahemna. Now Raya Mahemna means a faithful shepherd, and it's always talking about Moshe Rabbeinu. That when Rebbe Shimon was teaching, he's teaching on a level which is, we don't understand it. He's teaching on a level of tremendous amount of light, non-physical light. And as a result of that, Moshe Rabbeinu would come and be called the Raya Mahemna. And they called him Raya Mahemna mostly because he always came to speak on a specific subject in terms of the din, because he's the master of the din. He's the one that taught us the Torah. Ki tikna eved ivri. And he comes and he says like this, it's from the parsha last week. When you purchase an eved ivri, a Jewish slave, sheish shaman yavo, that's the 6 years that you're going to serve him. The secret over here is that back to the number 6 again, which he's already put on 6 spheros, and he said it's on this malach named Batat. And it goes back and forth between din and chesed. My sheish shanim ya'aver v'ma kinyan delay. So what is the 6 years, and what is it that he's acquiring? L'besisrei Torah mitat evet havaya kolu shis sitrin kolushban shis aspen delay shis sidre mishvan b'bahon islay l'bar nash l'miflach l'marehon. So he says, what's the idea of this 6? The idea of this 6, the 6 are the 6 letters of the name of this malach called Metat. So he says it refers to the 6 orders of the Mishnah. As we said before, Islay, Levar Nash, Lemiflach, Lemare, and you could use this to make it possible for you to be successful, for your prayers to be successful. And as a result of that, Lemahavile Eved. So if you use all of these things, this is the concept of making yourself into a servant, the servant of Hashem. Now, let's try to understand a little bit about the idea of this Metat. The letter Vav, which appears in the Tetragrammaton, which is Yud K Vav K, right? So it's a letter that spans between the K, which in other places, we may see this in the Zohar later this afternoon, refers, the first letter refers to Bina. That's beyond the Metat. It's feeding Metat. And Metat is like an elevator. He really is the Tikkun elevator. Because what happens is he takes the shefa that's coming from up above and he brings it down below. But as Rav Schick is maybe going to explain over here, is that the shefa really is a two-way street. Because in order to get a bracha, you have to have a prayer. And the more sincere that the prayer is, and the more closer it is that you're trying to unite yourself with Hashem, even if you don't see what's going to come out of the prayer right away. It's like they say, you're out fishing and fish, you're not catching anything, but fish are jumping into your basket someplace else. You didn't notice it. So we don't always know what brachas look like when they come. But over here we could see that exactly what's happening is that this Metat really runs the elevator that runs between the lower world, the world we live in, and the world of answers, which is what we call the Roma Ma'alos, the most highest place. So he says, Ayin Sham, so there's that Zohar over there. Bas Achas, there he had one daughter. Now let's go through, he went through the whole thing. What is 6? He had 6 sons, and went through the whole thing about the 6 sons. The 6 sons are these midos. They work both ways, right? They were coming down, bringing shefa, which we call the bracha, coming down to us. And they also carry our needs back up through the pipe, back up the upper way to Hashem. This is the way Hashem made the world. Okay, so he says that there was a daughter. Wait a minute, there was a daughter. The daughter is this precious daughter that we're talking about. Who is this precious daughter? So he says, Bas achas zeso de tefillah. She said, what? The daughter is prayer. This is in a lot of places that malchus, what we call malchus, which is this world, another word for that is prayer. So how does it go? Because if you look at this world, it doesn't work. The world has all kinds of problems in it. No matter how much, whether you get the Republicans or you get the Democrats or whether you're fighting with the Russians or the Chinese or whatever it is, it's not going to work out. No matter what it is, we are alive and we have what we can do. But this particular world has problems. How we have problems, let's make it more personal. We have problems in our personal lives. We have problems as we went through previously, but also family problems, this and so on and so forth, health problems, etc., etc., etc. These are lacks, things that are missing. This world is missing. It's missing connection. So our job is to make that connection. How do we do that? That connection starts in the darkness of this world, which is Malchus. So he says like this, and we just keep trying to find a place. She was tremendously precious to him, very important to him. The by Kodesh Baruch Hu, prayer to him, praying to him, is extremely precious to him. Rabbis say over here, it's a Medrash Tanchuma. Says I'm a Kodesh Baruch Hu, Havu Zechini b'Tefillah. Be very careful about Tefillah. She'ein l'cha mida yafa imana. There is nothing more beautiful than this. V'afilu ein adam kedai lano. So even if a person hasn't lived a great life, he's not a great guy, he's selfish. Even so, if he prays to Hashem, it's fitting for him to be answered. Chesed ani esimo. I'm going to make chesed with this guy. This is the tefillah that we talked about, the daughter of the king. He loves her very, very much, but he needs her to be with him and to offer herself up. So now he brings a tikuni zohar. So he said, yoma. So therefore, an announcement comes out of heaven every day. Man de katel haku chivya, a person who kills the snake. The ihu makanda the beturim ravavim. So who has made himself a nest in high mountains and lofty places. Yahavile brata de malko. You want to kill him? Bring the daughter of the king. Bring tefillah. The ihid salusa, that is prayer. And then the story says, and he loved her more than anything else. Because we understand is that this is the object, our world, our lives are the object by which Hashem created the world. This is the reason why he created the world. Because by him tefillah is extremely important. Anikras brata de melech, and says as a result it's called the king's daughter. Even though that we have a serpent amidst us, and we live as Rav Hillel says, is that we live in the Zuhamas of Nachash. That's where we live. We live amidst the poison of the Nachash that's all around us. We're like swimming around in it. Wrote in his Gaver al Adam that he wants to take us over. This Nachash wants to swallow us up. And he brings you all different kinds of chaotic things in your life to make you mixed up, and make it very, very difficult for you to see what to do. But even so, when you find yourself in a situation you don't know what to do, pray. Because Hashem, what's such a real what Rav now, one of the ideas of the Rebbeinu Kodesh wants to say, Rav Schick going to say this, is that Hashem is bringing all this to you. He's not someplace else. He's in the midst of the whole thing. And so Hashem rejoiced with her, celebrated with her, parties with this prayer. Because Hashem rejoices with every single word that a Jewish person, the Jewish people say. Because it is the mechanism by which Hashem makes a bracha. So, as I say like this, it's a little bit of Kabbalah. So in Kabbalah we say that there's two different forces that work on the elevator. So one of the forces is called man, mayim nukvin. It's called mayim nukvin. That is female waters. The female, as we understand that the way that Hashem created the world, is that the world is female. And the female is lacking. She is empty, the empty nest. She doesn't have a child. She doesn't have anything to create. She is the creative force of reality. But she needs to be fed. She needs to be, what's the proper word? Inseminated. She needs to have something within her to grow, and as a result of that, she needs to cry out for that which she lacks. That is our lives. That is our world. It's a metaphor. Now, there's a lot here. We've already used a few minutes. This is a Friday. I'm going to go on a little bit more. So he says more so. When Hashem created the world, he's going to say some straight out sod here now. The sod means the secrets of the Torah, the way that we have the idea of Rabbi Kiva and the other three Rabbonim who went into the Pardes is Pshat, Remez, Drush, Sod. So when we're learning the Zohar, we're learning sod, we're learning the secrets of the Torah, and it's not the way that you think, because it's not Pshat, it's not the simple meaning, it's not a gematria, it's not even an explanation of the gematria. It's another story within a story. So he says like this: Hoya kol ein sof. Everything was without end, which means that it was not congealed in any way, whatever that meant, whatever that means, which is the first shar in the Eitz Chaim. It's a very difficult shar because it's very difficult to understand how you can make something out of nothing. What is the force that congeals? Rav Schick is going to lay it out in simple terms right now. It brings over this idea in Lakuti Maran Chelik Aleph. Of course, it's also taken for the Eitz Chaim. But the Chaim Simsem as Atzmo, as it's possible to say that this nothingness, which has no form and is not congealed in any way, congeals itself some. He is able to contract himself. And as a result of that, he creates an area where he is not. It doesn't mean that he's not there, but he creates an area that he's not. It's very difficult to hear it. So from this place, then he started creating the idea. Etzel means near something. So he created the concept of distance. And now he says some basic Kabbalah. And as a result, he created Ubar, that is Etzel. So we're going to use it. Brought near, created distance. Bara, formed up, or brought into being. V'yatzar, and formed. V'asa, and made. As called Adal Olamos. And following after those four words, the Olamos are called Atzilas Bria Yitzira Nesiyah. Yesterday we had a lecture where we talked a little bit about the onion. Okay, so the onion, really, what you see when you look at an onion is something that's tremendously congealed. It's something that's brought out through the levels of Atzilus. First it starts, and it's the place to start where you could where something be recognized there. And then after that it gets formed and fashioned and shaped up and actually made in the end. So here you have an onion. That's all starting with a wrapper around it. Now he says something else, which I don't want to go into too much, but he says, what is this exactly? It is a line. It's a line that comes out of nothingness. And this line that comes out of nothingness goes in, mitzlavish bilvush al gabi levush. It becomes one clothing on top of another. This is the concept of being congealed. It congeals itself down to the point. The person can make contact with this line. Back to the line again, right? The tikkun, the elevator, right? You can make contact with that elevator, then even a person like me who's not wealthy and not from a great family and not anybody, but even a person like you or like me can make contact and get into it. This is the Rabbi Memran's Vekashir. In Rak Yirtza, but the main thing is you have to want to. Maybe it also means you have to need to. And how do you do it? You do it by keeping the Torah and doing the mitzvahs. You can actually progress closer and closer to your source. So now each one of these simsumim, each one of these bits of clothing, but we'll have to understand that there's no separation in any of it. It's all one. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. It's one. So that means that the essence of the whole thing is really a levush, it's a covering, but the essence of the whole thing is always part of every single part. This is a phrase I love from Rav Schick, because everything is only godliness. But Hashem has contracted himself into a concept called days. Like we have from Rabbeinu Zal, says so. Umidas yomai mahi. The word midas is a word that's really played a lot over in different places in the Kabbalah. But he says, and the measurement of my days, what it is. And midas, he wants to say, is the concept of a contraction, that Hashem is hidden inside the days. Now, because days, look, there's 6 days in the week plus the 7th one. That's the 6 and the 7 that he's talking about. Because the truth is that even though that we have days and we can count them and we have numbers for them and names for them, but he's inside of all of them, and there's nothing besides him. He's all that there is. Everything is only the light of the Ein Sof, that's infinite life that is covered over. But he hid himself in days. So therefore he's able to come together with the Malchus, which is Shechina, who is also called the Bas Melech, which we also said is called Tefillah. Nishmas Yisrael shebeshvila hoiser v'kol habriya be'ezi yom. So that be'ezi yom is taken there was a certain day. He said something to her and she was cast out. Remember, that's part of the story. So therefore, he called Yom Ku Keneged Sfira V'Tzimtzum Acher, that every day corresponds to a Sfira and a different Tzimtzum. So, have you ever thought that while I'm talking, or you're listening to me, God willing, you're sitting still, right? You're not moving. But on the other hand, that's not true, because you're sitting on top of a big rock. It's an enormous, and it's so big that you can't really see it. But not only are you sitting on a rock, but it's turning. It's going through a cycle. It's moving. You don't know it, because in Erechin, it's moving. Everything is moving the same. Everything is moving along with it. My bookshelves are moving. My house is moving. The ground that my house is built on is moving. It doesn't take only your car. When your car is moving with the movement. That's the way his world is turning towards the east. And not only that, but the moon is turning along with it. It's a different pace, but it's also moving around the circle in the east. And not only that, but the earth is moving, besides the turning of the world, the rotation, it's also moving in space in a circular pattern also, along with other planets. So a lot of movement. We just don't see it because we don't look at it, we don't think about it. And that's the reason why we say that Hashem is hidden in the days, because the days are constantly different. The alignment of the different elements is constantly changing. You see that better from looking at the moon than at the sun, because the moon changes from dark to light a little bit more, so it's easy to see. Okay, just a little bit more. I just love it so much. So on some particular day, the story went, Be'eze Yom, he said on some day there was a certain kind of tzimtzum. Now tzimtzum, the origin of the word tzimtzum in Kabbalah comes from the concept of what is called the butzina de Cardenisa, or Cardenus, I think is the proper pronunciation, which means a torch or a flame or spark, the original spark of contraction. And whatever that means, it's gevura. It's something that we don't necessarily like because as we said before, there are Elokims in the world, there are dinim in the world. So we want to be always happy. We want to be always blessed. We want to see everything going. But apparently Hashem made the world that these two concepts have to go together. And we understand that Tzimtzum, Gevura, Butzina the Cardenisa, is the basis of creation. Because without it, if you took just a lump, if you don't start squeezing on the lump, you won't make it into a pot. You won't make it into a vessel. You won't make it a piece of clay. It won't be, it's not just a piece of clay. So it has to be worked on. Unfortunately, we have to have a perspective that will teach us that that's part of our lives. That's what makes us better. You have a hurdle, you jump over the hurdle. But you don't like hurdles. You want to keep going straight. But that's what it is. We have to realize that this is what Hashem has for us. So he says, "V'na'ase barogas alachos." Barogas means, it probably means angry, and he made this. When he spoke to her on this one day, there was a tzimtzum. Shazeh so the tzimtzum. Now he says because then you're making an empty space. That is a space where something can be created, that something can come from nothing. There's a concept, this butzin of the Kardanisa is a concept of this, whatever it is, the element. It's impossible to understand 100%. Only we see the results. The results is that it's a creative process. A creation always requires some sacrifice. So it's a chazab bak of yachol v'nizracham bepiv shal kol tov sheyichach lo, and it came out of his mouth. This is a Kodesh Baruch Hu speaking to what he said. The Shekhinah speaking to Tefillah, speaking to the ultimate purpose of reality. He said it came out of his mouth. V'nizracham bepiv, and it came flying out of his mouth. Shahalo tov yikach lo, that something that's not good should take you. His chavos hachalo hapanu. So he explains. The Kabbalah is that when a place is made empty of the awareness of Hashem, so immediately the criticizers come. He says it calls the Samach Mem. That's the force of the other side. This is the Malach of Esav. This is a Malach of everything that is selfish and bad in the world. The Nukva delay, but hey, he has a wife, both of them. And the Zohar says in another place that when he says that the Nachash, came into Chava, it's really talking about of the female aspect. It's female, the seductive aspect. So he says, so he says, and this is the concept of lo tov. He's going to send you to a place where there's a Yetzer Hara. He's going to send you a place where there's a Nachash. He's going to send you to a place where there's Sitra Achra, all these different words, a Samach Mem. Der nit guter. So he says in Yiddish, he says there's something that's not good. He's going to give you something not good. Ki gam hakali, that is the klipos, sitra achra. These are images of truth which are false. They always pretend to be or imagine themselves as something holy, but in the end they're also always forces of selfishness. A samach mem v'nukva delay. So again, he says the samach mem, the force, the malach of Esav and his wife. Hashem created them. So when you see different kinds of things in the world, you have to understand if the fact is that Rav Schick is right, and the Rebbe is right, and the Uri is right, and the Baal Shem is right, and if Rebbe Shimon is saying this properly, Hashem created the whole thing. So why did he do that? He made you a possibility for you and me to be tested in this world. Shehem yuchlu l'halim v'l'hastiv v'l'chasos as Orius Baruch. He made them in order to be able to hide his light. I listened to Rabbi Memran's shir this morning, and he was saying basically this idea is a focal point of what he wanted to say. Well, it looks like, what could I do in 2 minutes or 3 minutes? So you want to give me another 5 minutes? I'll say a little bit more. So he said, V'hine ikar kocham kul b'laylo. The main power of the other side is at nighttime. He oz shlitas achitzonim. So we have a concept of chitzonim, the outside forces that are not part of kedusha. V'lechein be'erev yolin bechi v'leboiker rino. So that's why we have this phrase in Tehillim, in the nighttime he's sleeping in tears, and in the morning he's rejoicing. And the elmo b'laylo. So since we have darkness at night. Darkness is a metaphor, so we're saying, for the inability to be able to see God. We live in a dark world. So therefore, go back to our story. Since she got hidden in the nighttime, this tefillah, and she got scattered away and was taken away, then in the next day he can't find her. When the day came, and the rest of the story, he said the king was very, very unhappy. It was very pain, tremendous pain. And that's the words of Rabbeinu HaKodesh. Because if you're able to make yourself holy at nighttime, is the best of ideas. The person wakes up in the middle of the night. If you wake up in the middle of the night, there's some Tillim that you could say, which are called the Tikkun Chatzos. Also, there's Kriya Shema L'Lamita, also saying that. Because if you do that, then the other side doesn't have any power over you. But because of the words that came out, as we could say, from the king, that something bad should take you. He created, as a result, false images. Look, we live in a world, we don't know what's going on half the time, right? We're only a half of a coin. The other side, we don't know what's going on. So what's happening is that we're making up different ideas. We have imagination and we're making up ideas. These ideas, lots of times, are images of the truth, but they're not the truth. They're lies. That's called the klipos. Kelly. We pronounce it Kelly. Shemishama Bechira. There it becomes the Bechira. Because inside of us, there is a nitzutz, there's a spark of the neshama of Hashem. But we know what is holy, because it's in us, to begin with. But he ne'evdo. But therefore, she, that is tefillah, became hidden. We didn't know to pray. We don't know who to pray to. We don't know if prayer works. So that goes on. In the morning, he couldn't find her. And we say that. Because Hashem regrets. He regrets. It says, he made it on purpose so that we could have a reason to be able to overcome it. But he's also sorry that he did it. And he brings this, let me see, it's a Zohar in Bereshis. And he was saddened in his heart. V'amro, another Zohar, which is taken from a pasuk in Yeshaya. Have moshke ha'avon, is like a person who's pulling sins. Ilan b'nei nasha, d'chantach u'kamem mareichem v'kol yomo. These are men who sin before Hashem every single day. V'zdamechin be'einaychu inan chovin de'in l'kachav l'shav. And even though that they're pulling all of these sins along with them, they do it so much that it seems like it's nothing. It's like they're ropes that the wagon ropes that they're pulling along with themselves, as if they didn't mean anything. And they think, well, whatever they've been doing, and the sin that they've been doing, the love ichu klum, doesn't matter. It's not with nothing. It forgot about it. Remember that? Below ashgach b'chul kutra berichu. Hashem doesn't pay attention to this. So they think that Hashem doesn't pay attention. He doesn't know. Until that they have all of these chavos, so they're strong, they're powerful, like the actual reins that you have on a big wagon. That it's something that's so powerful, it's so wrapped up on a person, it's so bound up to it that he can't get out of it. But then the Zohar says like this, come and see. When Hashem made, Dina b'chayve alma, he comes before people, and remember that Hashem created the situation. He created us, and he created the problems that we have in our lives. He created the things that we do. And so when the din is coming down on a person, that even though that in God's presence they're sinners, they went off the derech. V'argazin lei kol yom, and every day they provoke him. Every day they anger him. Lo boy la'ovducha v'chuma alma, but he doesn't want to destroy them out of the world. Because ashkat b'rovedechum is nachem alaykum, but since they see that what they're doing, he has rachmanis on them. Al de'inon of the yadoi. Why? Because they are the creations of his hands. He made them. He made the situations in which we find ourselves. And so he gives them extension in the world. And since he knows that he made us, he always has rachmanis for us. He always has a way of comforting and calming it down. But he's sad about us. He's sad about our situation. So he says, go over there and look at the Zohar over there. So that was a big lesson today. Thank you very much. If you're able to listen to this, and it was a little longer than I normally do, but I just feel very, very strongly about this. It had a lot of Kabbalah in it today, and we hope that you enjoyed. Thank you. Bye-bye.